A chill has descended upon North America, and it has nothing to do with the coming winter. A critical trade artery, the lifeline connecting Alaska to the rest of the United States through Canadian territory, has been severed. On September 10, 2025, the Canadian government under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau closed the Alaska-Canada, or ALCAN highway to all commercial U.S. freight. The move sent shockwaves across the continent, escalating simmering trade disputes between the two allies. The closure immediately impacts billions in goods, from essential supplies for Alaskan communities to natural resources heading south. The world is watching closely, as this conflict could disrupt global supply chains and set a dangerous precedent for allied nations. Ottawa's move is seen as a direct response to President Donald Trump's protectionist tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber and dairy. Canada's action targets a unique American vulnerability: Alaska's geographic isolation. This is no longer just a tariff dispute, it's a high-stakes test of sovereignty and economic leverage. The world now waits to see who will blink first in this northern standoff. The northern blockade is a crisis demanding immediate attention and careful navigation. The Alaska-Canada Highway, or ALCAN, is more than a road. It's a symbol of wartime necessity and bilateral cooperation. Built during World War II, the highway connected Dawson Creek, British Columbia to Delta Junction, Alaska, in less than a year. Canada allowed the U.S. to build the highway across its territory, recognizing a shared threat. After the war, the ALCAN became Alaska's primary land route for goods and people. It's the backbone of the Alaskan economy, ensuring a steady supply of essentials. Annually, goods worth over $2 billion travel this corridor. For Canada, the highway supports jobs and communities along its path. Without it, Alaska becomes an economic island, with higher costs for shipping by sea or air. The highway is a symbol of partnership, jointly maintained and upgraded over decades. Tourists flock to the ALCAN for its scenery, further cementing its importance. Its sudden closure is not just a logistical problem, it's a tear in the fabric of North American unity. What was once a symbol of cooperation is now a front line of conflict. The situation escalated with stunning speed. On September 10th, the Canadian government closed the ALCAN highway and key border crossings to all U.S. commercial freight, effective immediately. Prime Minister Trudeau announced the move as retaliation for steep U.S. tariffs on Canadian lumber and dairy. "We will not stand by while our key industries are targeted," Trudeau declared. The closure was timed to maximize pressure just as holiday shipments ramped up. President Trump responded swiftly, calling the move a disgrace and vowing consequences. The U.S. condemned the closure as a violation of trade agreements, including the USMCA. Canadian border agents began turning away trucks, stranding drivers and disrupting supply chains. Reports flooded in of truckers with perishable goods left in limbo. The U.S. ambassador to Canada lodged a formal protest, calling the blockade unacceptable. The border, once a symbol of easy commerce, had become a hard barrier overnight. The shock was immediate. Hundreds of trucks halted, businesses scrambling for answers. The closure marked a dramatic escalation, turning a trade dispute into a full-blown crisis. The world took notice as North America's longest undefended border hardened. President Trump's response was immediate and aggressive. Within 48 hours, the White House imposed a 100% tariff on all Canadian-assembled electric vehicles, targeting Ontario's auto sector. Trump also ordered a review of cross-border energy pipelines, hinting at possible permit revocations. On social media, he declared, "Canada's auto industry and energy will feel the pain. America first." The administration launched a USMCA dispute case, arguing Canada's blockade violated trade agreements. The U.S. prepared for a protracted economic and legal battle. Meanwhile, Trump ordered a military airlift to supply Alaska with essentials, a costly, unsustainable gesture of support. The airlift was more about symbolism than a long-term solution. The message to Ottawa was clear: the U.S. would use every tool to force a reversal. The conflict had moved beyond tariffs to a test of political will and national resolve. Both sides braced for a drawn-out confrontation. The economic fallout from the ALCAN closure was immediate and severe. In Alaska, supermarket shelves emptied, prices soared, and construction projects stalled. Goods flown in cost double or more, straining families and businesses. In Washington state, ports and trucking companies lost business overnight, forcing layoffs. Manufacturers across the U.S. lost access to the Alaskan market, canceling orders and jobs. On the Canadian side, U.S. tariffs hammered Ontario's auto industry and threatened Alberta's energy sector. The Trudeau government's gamble was proving costly for both nations. The North American Economic Council estimated the combined impact at $100 million per day. The long-term damage to investor confidence in supply chains was incalculable. What began as a dispute over lumber and dairy had spiraled into a full-blown economic crisis. Beyond the numbers, the trade war has a human cost. David Chen, a trucker from Tacoma, was forced to turn back with a load of fresh produce destined for Anchorage. "This is my whole life," he said. "I have a mortgage to pay, kids to feed. What am I supposed to do now?" In Fairbanks, grocery manager Sarah Jenkins rationed essentials as shelves emptied. "People are scared. The airlift helps, but prices are insane. I had to tell a mother we were out of baby formula. It's heartbreaking." In Windsor, Ontario, auto worker Mark Valois faced layoffs as U.S. tariffs threatened his factory. "We're not enemies, we're partners. This fight is threatening my ability to provide for my family." These stories reveal the real toll truckers stranded, small businesses struggling, factory workers facing unemployment. Families worry about putting food on the table as decisions made in distant capitals upend their lives. The human impact is profound. Behind every policy, there are people whose futures hang in the balance. The trade war is not just about numbers, it's about livelihoods and communities. The crisis has made the border feel farther than ever before. For many, the sense of partnership has been replaced by uncertainty and fear. The voices of those affected are a stark reminder of what's at stake. Trade experts warn this dispute is a dangerous break from decades of diplomatic norms. Dr. Amelia Vance of the Council on Foreign Relations calls it brinkmanship between two of the world's most integrated allies. Canada's closure of the Alcan is an extraordinary move, weaponizing geography and challenging U.S. national security. The risk Washington may see this not just as a trade violation, but a threat to Alaska's strategic importance. Economists warn the long-term damage could far outweigh any short-term gains. The U.S. and Canada are co-producers. Parts cross the border multiple times before a product is finished. This conflict shatters trust and could drive investment out of North America. Policy analysts agree, a quick de-escalation is critical to prevent lasting damage. The USMCA's dispute resolution process offers a path, but political rhetoric makes compromise difficult. The personal animosity between leaders is fueling policy, raising the risk of diplomatic disaster. The world is watching to see if cooler heads will prevail. The stakes for both nations and the continent are enormous. The US-Canada standoff is being watched closely by global powers like China and Russia. A fractured Western alliance serves their interest, undermining US-led order. Chinese media highlight the dispute as proof of US unreliability, while Russia eyes the disruption of a key military logistics route. A prolonged conflict could weaken NORAD, emboldening Russian activity in the Arctic. The dispute sends a chilling message to other US allies. If America and Canada can fall out, what about other partnerships? The conflict also undermines global trade rules, suggesting might trumps law. If others follow suit, the global trading system could devolve into chaos and protectionism. The world is watching, and the consequences could be far-reaching. The future of the US-Canada relationship hangs in the balance. A quick resolution seems unlikely as both leaders dig in. The airlift to Alaska continues, but it's a costly stopgap. Canadian industries suffer under US tariffs, and economic pain mounts on both sides. Quiet diplomacy may offer a way out, perhaps a temporary suspension of the blockade and tariffs, with formal negotiations to follow. The USMCA's dispute panel could provide a neutral solution, but trust is in short supply. The risk, a prolonged stalemate, with permanent damage to supply chains and lost jobs. The human cost will grow as the crisis drags on. The choices made now will determine whether the world's longest undefended border remains a symbol of partnership or a monument to a friendship lost. The road ahead is uncertain, and the stakes could not be higher.